It's Shannon. Yep. I'm back to tell you goodnight again. Are you okay with that? Because I am. How was your day? I'm feeling wildly. Please come with me. Yesterday, I reminded my son Noah, who's our oldest, of the time that our family went to a birthday party at this other family's house. This was our first time going to this family's house. We hadn't known them very long, but their oldest child, Noah, was having a birthday, and they invited our whole family of 10 to come. So we're there, and this birthday boy's grandfather is there. It's a big shindig, and this grandpa was being a real stinker to Hannah, who was 16 at the time. And Hannah is very sweet and pretty quiet when in a big group at first, and she's like not really sure what to do. And apparently this grandpa saw that about her, and he began teasing her and pushing buttons and kind of embarrassing her. And Hannah did not really know what to say. So, she's trying to just wander away from Grandpa, who was sitting in the house. And I was like, hey, is he getting on your nerves? And she's like, yes. She's very patient. She can tolerate a lot. But at this point, I was like, okay, like he's just getting his kicks here at her expense. And, I can't really do that. So it's time to go. The birthday party. My son Isaiah got hurt, got a bloody nose, and we need to just get going. So I'm saying my goodbyes to the whole group, and the grandpa's sitting right there. And he's like, oh, hey, like, what was your name again? And I just looked at him straight faced, and I was like, Luanda. And everyone in the room burst out laughing because they obviously knew my name was Shannon, but this was the first time I met him, the grandpa. And he was like looking around like, what's so funny? And he's just like giving me a weird look like, what, isn't that your name? And I was like, no, it's not. It's really Shannon. And he was like, oh, you got me. And I was like, well, it seemed like you like to dish it out, so I thought you might like to take a little too. I am not one to say that. But after that, like, it lightened up, and he was like, okay, like, that's fair enough. And so we were kind of sparring back and forth until we ended up leaving. And he was very lighthearted about it. And I was very grateful for that, because I can put my foot in my mouth sometimes. But my, like, mama tiger was coming out in just, like, the nicest way, like, just in the funniest way I could do to put this grandpa in his place a little bit. Anyway, I was just reminding my son Noah of that, and he was just like, oh, Mom. Oh, yeah, that was quite a little birthday party. Wow, this is a super long intro. I'm sorry, but I hope you're having fun. I hope you're liking it. Anywho, tonight I want to tell you a story of Stanford, Kentucky. So I found this sweet little town a few weeks ago because if you leave me to my own devices, I will end up on realtor.com or Pinterest. And every Friday night, I inevitably end up reviewing the local real estate listings in the area. And I kept seeing this one farmhouse on 6 acres over and over again. It had been on the market for, over 2 years. But I was like, wow, what is Standford? Like, where is that? And I'm like looking on a map. It's like, oh, that's kind of far away. That's really out in the middle of nowhere. And I don't know about that. Well, one day but the price was good. That's the thing about this house. Like, the price was really good. It was 6 acres, $150,000. And it had a big old farmhouse on it and some kind of big, garage sort of thing on it. And I was like, well, I don't know. But one day I was just having a tough day, and the weather was good, and I just drove. I just needed to change up my life a little. It's either cut my hair, get a puppy, or just drive somewhere. So I decided to drive somewhere. And once I got to this property, I could see from the pictures no one lived there. So I pulled in the driveway a little and looked around. And my spirit felt like it was like expanding, like just like a big rainbow emanating out of me. Like my body just responded to being there because it just had amazing views, and you could see the Appalachian Mountains like off in the distance, and the neighborhood was really quiet and nice. It wasn't anything overly fancy or a dump. It was just a beautiful mix of just right in the middle and just right farms all around. So I came back home and I was like, Joe, you got to come see this house. And so I drove him over there, and he was like, wow, this is amazing. Like I was expecting this to be really sketchy when you showed me the picture, but it's actually beautiful. And so after that, we drove through the downtown of Stanford, Kentucky, and it was surprisingly awesome. For a little town of 3,600 people, this sweet little downtown is so cute. And all of these like local shops, and it's clean, and there's this like river flowing gently along the back of the downtown area. It was really walkable. It's the county seat. Like it was just so cute. And then all of the like chain stores and businesses are on this like outer loop of the town. And then only locally owned mom and pop businesses are downtown, and some like extremely historical, long-standing businesses. So we were like, oh my gosh, this is really cool, really amazing. And so the next day, Joe was like, I know you're really excited about that town. Do you mind driving over there again and just getting a vibe of like, what's the town like? And my extrovert started extroverting, and he knows I would not mind that. So he's like, and then he even like gave me like a first destination, which was actually wonderful. He was like, go to the Bluebird first. So I find the Bluebird, which is this little cafe, which is totally reminding me of, like Nashville. That show Nashville has the Bluebird Cafe where like they all sing and fall in love and everything, and all the drama. But this was a slightly different vibe. I did not fall in love or have drama, but the waitresses were really nice. It was so cute. The food was awesome. And and everyone that I talked to that day was born and raised from Stanford. Except for one person, and I'll tell you about her. Oh, and she's next. At the Kentucky Soap Company, there was one girl that was working there, and I was like, what's Stanford like? Like, what's the vibe here? And one of the girls there said that she actually moved there 2 years ago from Hawaii with her husband and her parents, and she was talking about how welcome everyone is into the community and how kind they are. She said her dad bought a farm, and the local farmers were helping him get connected with equipment and supplies and, seeds and how to do things. And she was like, we were coming from Hawaii, like that everyone was just so sweet and wonderful and helpful, and that they really loved living there. So I thought that was amazing. And then like the owner of the Kentucky Soap Company, she had little goats, and her husband wanted her to see if they could make some money with goats. So she did research and made goat soap, and then was just like kind of sharing it with friends, and then sold it. And then people were asking for more of it. So she made this little soap company, and it grew and evolved. And now she's got a shop, and she wrote 3 books, and they're making it into a movie. It's just like really, really cute. And the shop is so cute. They have like free coffee and free little cookies. And then they also sell like locally produced items and crafts and things as well. So it's just lovely. It's just lovely. There's a little inn in Standford, and that was super cute downtown. Let's see. Then after I went to the Bluebird and the Kentucky Soap Shop, and then I went to the library, because we're library people. And it's important to me that there's a good children's library without weirdo books, with actually things to do where the kids could be engaged and involved. And so I went over there, looked around. It was really a nice library. and plenty of books and play areas and things to do. Like we go to the library every week or every other week. So I like that my kids love reading and being in libraries. So as I was walking out, there was this man, this older man, and I introduced myself and asked if he was from there, and he said yes. His name is James. And so he was telling me how he really liked Stanford. It was a much slower pace of living. It wasn't growing too fast like other towns in our area. He was saying it's really safe. His mother, elderly mother, lived there by herself for many years, and he had come back and lived with her until she passed a few years ago. But he was like, I never worried about my mom being here, being safe. And I thought that really spoke to some, that he was protective of her, but he knew she was just fine. So that was good information from James. And then there's a little train depot thing where kids can play at near the library, and a little park. So that could be just like a whole vibe. That's a good little late morning, early afternoon outing for the kids. So I really liked that. And then there's a building supply store that I went to just randomly. I'm like, what do the bros say? What do the bros say here in Stanford? And, because all the big trucks were there and big rugged strong men were walking in. So I went in and I was asking a couple of guys, like, are they from Stanford? Do they like it? Is it a good place to raise a family? Is it safe? Is there enough to do? Blah, blah, blah. And one of the guys I was talking to said, actually, you should talk to my boss, Lee. And I was like, okay. So he's like, Lee, could you come here? This lady's asking about Stanford. And so Lee takes me back to her office and we start chatting. And she's like second generation family owner of this building supply store. And she was so helpful and just like a wealth of knowledge about the town and the opportunities there, the pros and cons. It was really, really great getting her perspective on it. And she was like, well, if you move here, or, if you buy that old farmhouse, we'll connect you with contractors. We know everybody. So that was really cool. And I really enjoyed meeting her. I even told her about this podcast, by the way. And then Lee said, you've got to go over to Coleman's drugstore and get I'm going to forget it now. An orange something. And this drink. So she's like, hurry up, they close at 2:30. So I ran down the street to Coleman's drugstore, and half of it is an actual pharmacy and the other half of it is an old soda shop, and they serve lunch every day there, and it's really good. And so I got this I'm so sorry, I'm forgetting the name of it. It's orange something. And so I go in there and I said, Lee sent me down to get this orange drink. And Rosemary, who's one of the owners there, she's like, oh, Lee can't get enough of those. I'm not surprised she sent you down. She just loves those. And so I sat there, and Rosemary, she's like, I'll be right back. So she grabs a bowl and she disappears for a while, and she comes back with a whole big bowl full of oranges. She slices them all, and then there's this like orange press, and she freshly juices all of these, like 6 oranges. Then she adds a little like vanilla syrup and some water and ice and stirs it with a spoon and hands it to me, and it tastes like an orange sickle. It was amazing. It was like the best drink I've ever tasted in my life. And, compliments to the chef. And so she and I are chatting, and I asked if she's from there. She said yes. And she's born and raised there, and she must have been in her early 60s maybe. And I asked her, what is the best thing about Stanford? And she said, the people. And now listen to this story. She said, the people here love each other, and they treat each other so well. In fact, we had a woman in her early 30s who was married with 2 kids who suddenly got this disease where her arms and legs all had to be amputated. And everyone in the town got together, bought property, built her a wheelchair-friendly house, and built her husband a shop right there on the property so he could work from home. And I almost bawled when she told me that story, because like, when have you ever heard of something like that? I have never heard of something like that. It touched my heart, and it was like, wow, like, I grew up in a small town. Joe grew up in a small town, but I've never heard of people like supporting each other like that and being there for each other in such a major way. And I was really impressed with that story. I was really impressed. So a few days after this experience, and I went home and told the family about this, we asked, we're talking to the kids, maybe we'll just go there like as a family and check it out. And so a few days, like a couple of weeks later, we all went. All 10 of us in 2 vehicles ascended on Stanford, Kentucky, drove over there, and we went to the playground, we went to the library, we found a walking trail, we walked around downtown, we had lunch at the Bluebird, and it was like perfect timing because we got there the only table for 10, and then it got slammed. It was so busy, and our food took forever, which it always does when we went out, but it was really nice because we got to just get a vibe for the people and see the amount of traffic downtown on a busy Saturday. It was really nice. There was a couple houses for rent that we were curious about, so we walked to those. They were walkable from downtown. And then, as we were about to leave, we met a man on the street who asked if we were from there, because he didn't know us, and we said no, we're just visiting. And so we were like, well, are you from here? And he said yes. And so we were like, what do you like about Stanford? And apparently he's a retired lawyer, because he was like, well, my favorite thing about Stanford is the courthouse. And because it was the county seat, so there's the county courthouse there, and it's a beautiful, ginormous building. And he said that in this courthouse, it has the spectators gallery, like a balcony overlooking the courtroom. And he said at one time, the like cool thing to do in Stanford was to go watch court cases. And he's like, it's just a really like a beautiful historic courtroom, and he always loved going there to do cases and things like that. So he was telling us about that, and he said, well, actually, if you're here in town, if you haven't heard of it, there's this place called Fort Logan. It is like one of the original forts there in Stanford, and Stanford is the second oldest town in Kentucky after Harrodsburg. And so they have this historic fort. So he was saying it's free, and let me tell you where it's at. So we ended up going over there after chatting with him on our way out of town, and it was so cool. Joe and the boys love to play this game, Age of Empires 2, and some of it you're like building these little like forts and your little civilizations or whatever. And some of the forts have it's like the pine trees, that have like the points on top, and it's this big square, and there's buildings within it. Anyway, they are recreating Fort Logan there at this historic site, and the kids went bonkers. There was like these little buildings that they built. It was so cool. So even like to go visit, it was so neat, and we like ran around and took their pictures, and they were like, it was so simple, but they thought it was awesome. So anyway, I just love that little town. It has such a like great local vibes. Like the people are such a like kind to each other, and it's big enough that there's enough to do, but not so big that you get lost. And Joe and I have gone, like, we both knew when we were young, like, okay, we need to get out of this small town, we need to go experience the world and all this. But now that we're older, it just seems like we're going from like smaller and smaller and smaller with our towns. And even though Stanford's like 3,600 people, we're seriously wondering if like that is the kind of place we should be looking to settle, because we're just renting right now where we are just to see if we like Kentucky. But that little town, that might be something. So I'm not trying to force anything or push anything, because I can do that. I have to be careful. But like, we're open to maybe that being somewhere we settle. Maybe we could have an opportunity to be a part of the community, or have a business downtown there, or have a farm. I would still like to rent downtown and the kids could walk to things and just have their freedom and independence, but in a really safe and quiet town. And I'd like that a lot. Or for that, I could walk to the coffee shop, or, walk to a park or meet a friend or things like that. So yeah, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but this just seems like a really special place. And I'm really grateful for that turd day that I had. I'm grateful I didn't go get my hair cut or get a puppy. I'm grateful that worked out, and I discovered some place that I think is really wonderful. So let's pray. Lord, thank you for this great place of Stanford, Kentucky, and for putting it on my radar. God, I appreciate the kind-hearted people that I met there too, and that live there. What a sweet place, Lord. Your presence has to be there. I'm sure it's everywhere, but like, it has to be quite potent to have people so kind like that, Lord. Please bless that town and keep it safe and make it prosperous, and bless all the people there richly, Lord. I ask you to watch over everyone tonight as they sleep, and guard them as they dream. And I pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, it's that time. Sweet dreams. Good night.